in crime. Miami J and Jay Blaze. You guys both have names with J's in them, so I tend to call you either Miami or just Blaze. How are we doing today, guys?
Doing good, doing
Great.
good. Hey, Don. Again, I'm not sure we're live on YouTube yet.
Hang on a second.
Yeah, I didn't get a notification either.
We do it live. Yeah, I'm live on YouTube.
Okay.
Let me make sure.
Yeah, just saw it.
Yeah.
There
I
it
guess
is.
it was a little bit behind. Guess it
My
was a
bad.
little bit, but no, you're all right. You're all right. Yeah, definitely be checking on that because even if it says it's live, a lot of times you guys know how wonky this can be. So, big time NFL Sunday today. We've got 13 games on the slate. Let's talk first, and I don't have a graphic for this, but let's talk first about USC, specifically their quarterback Caleb Williams. So USC got dog walked by UCLA, who was clearly the better team. I don't know why UCLA even fired Chip Kelly, but whatever. At any rate, Caleb Williams, the guy who cried on his mama's shoulder after this loss, decided not to talk to the media. And once again, guys, Caleb's I guess off the field antics are the story. You cannot listen. If you are going to be the quarterback, if you're going to be the CEO, if you're going to be the leader of men, you got to talk to the media. And here's the thing, the LA media, as far as USC is concerned, is not even that tough. Can you imagine if he were in Chicago or New York or Philadelphia? They'd cook this guy. So Jay Blaze, what do you think? What do you think his lack of presence? What do you think Caleb Williams' decision not to speak to the media? Does this further perpetuate the fact that we don't think he's a good leader, or do you think it won't? Or do you not think it'll be a factor at all?
Okay, so this is a complete fall from grace because they were at 6-0 and they lost their last 5 games.
Yep.
You cannot do that.
Nope.
And dude, not talking to the media, which they're gonna. You saw after he cried, like they were very easy on him.
Yes.
They just asked him like very non-threatening questions.
Yes.
Dude, can you imagine him being drafted by the New York Giants?
Oh God, no. Hell no.
They're going to be a top 5 pick, and it like I think he lost the locker room because you don't lose 5 straight after winning the first 6.
Yes.
You just don't do it unless you lost the locker room, and this is why you can't draft this guy because he's mentally weak.
Okay. Miami J, mentally weak. I agree with him. What say you?
Yeah, no, I agree with him too. It kind of makes me wonder. Jay Blaze just brought it into perspective for me that they've lost 5 in a row and that he probably lost the locker room. Maybe him going to mommy and crying wasn't about that loss. Maybe it's about the fact that he lost the locker room.
Dude.
Who knows?
Joel, that is a very good point, man. Go ahead, keep going.
To me, it remains the same issue that we talked about last week and even the week before. This guy is undraftable. I do not draft this guy even in the 7th round. I'm not taking him.
Yeah.
He's a distraction.
Yeah.
That's the one thing coaches in the NFL don't want.
I think, and we're going to have to understand this is going to be part of the gig. I think Caleb Williams I think he just let the NIL money get to his head. I think and look, if I'm a 22-year-old kld, the world loves me. I just won the Heisman. I'm the presumptive number 1 overall pick. Now I'm making 8 figures. A word on the street is that he's making $10 million a year in NIL. I guess I'd be a little bit cocky. And feel myself too. But you can be cocky and feel yourself and still be a good leader. You can't. And look, I'm all about a quarterback being confident. Okay, so he painted his fingernails. Not something I would do, not something I would draft, but okay, whatever. Okay, so he cried into his mama's arms after a loss. If that's a one-off, I can deal with that. But now we have incident after incident after incident. And Blaze, I had not even thought about it. Miami J, you're absolutely right. It had never occurred to me that the reason why USC has lost 5 straight games is because Caleb Williams may have lost the locker room. And these off-field antics, like crying in his mama's arms or not talking to the media. I think those behaviors are indicative of a quarterback who may have lost the locker room. Very good point.
I
The coach, I think it's up to him now. If I'm the coach, I've lost 5 straight. My quarterback's lost the locker room. I don't give a damn if he's the number 1 pick.
Totally agree.
I'm benching him.
Totally agree, man.
I-
Luke, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I will say we saw this with Russell Wilson last season, where they gave him his own office on a different floor,
There you go.
and we're seeing it with Mac Jones
There you go.
this year. Dude, the locker room despises Mac Jones
Oh, of course.
because he can't take hard coaching.
Nope.
And Caleb
You've
Williams,
said this.
he's
Listen,
making $10 million.
Jay Blaze, you have said this every single week. He can't take hard coaching. Mac Jones can't take hard coaching. You've been right this whole time, man.
Yeah, and Caleb Williams has been treated, I guarantee, with kid gloves.
Bingo.
Lincoln Riley had him with Oklahoma,
Yep.
and he went over here. He has been treated differently than the other people, and in that locker room.
Yes.
And I bet he lost the locker room by just that case.
Wow. Anything to add, Miami Jay?
Yeah, if I'm the coach, look, and Jay Blaze said it in our text chat. I don't think they're bowl eligible anymore, right?
No. Well, no. That's
Maybe
Dion.
for a
You only have to.
backup.
Yeah, you only have to win 6 games to become bowl eligible. I think you have to win 10 to become New Year's bowl eligible. I don't know what the rules are, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Either way, I'm the coach. I'm looking at next year. I know Caleb Williams is leaving for the draft. I'm benching him. I'm putting him my backup, giving him some experience.
Straight up. Yeah, maybe, dude. I don't know. Maybe send him on some sort of retreat, some sort of. I don't know, man. Like he needs to go through some sort of rite of passage.
They need to send him to the Richie Incognito School of Bowling.
Whoa! Oh, there we go, dude. There's a blast from the past. Richie Incognito. Hell yeah, dude. Totally agree.
The best thing
Go ahead.
that could ever happen to him is no team drafts him, and he goes to the summer, the spring league.
Yes, the
and
XFL,
he
the
just
USFL.
balls
Yep.
out. Yeah, and he takes that and runs with it and says, "Hey, I'm going to build myself back up to a man and show these guys."
He's got the talent.
But the best thing that could realistically happen to him, the one thing that's going to humble him at this point, is getting benched.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep harping on that. If I'm the coach, I'm benching him.
Okay. Yeah, if I'm Lincoln Riley, I think I'm benching him too. Here's the thing, though. And I agree with you 100%. But we don't know if Caleb Williams is even going to play in the bowl game because he might be getting ready for the NFL draft, which I certainly don't blame him or any other player that would do that. But there would be another way for Caleb Williams to sort of slither out of any sort of disciplinary action.
Yeah.
Anybody got any last thoughts before I read this super chat?
Bench him.
No.
Okay, bench him. All right, very good. Ken Rose with the $5 Rumble rant. I appreciate that very, very much. Luke Red Pill Perry says the Jaguars and Titans are under 40. So he's already given his picks. Giants Commanders over 38. So he's taking the over in the Giants Commanders. We'll get into that later. Suffix Finest says Jaden Daniels looks tough. I would draft him. So would I. Jordan Travis. Did you see his injury yesterday for Florida State? Oh, it was Oh my God. He ran the Jordan Travis, no longer Heisman candidate for Florida State. He took off. A linebacker tackled him, and dude, his knee went one way, his ankle went the other. Oh, it was bad. It was very, very bad. So
you hate to see that.
Yeah, you really, really do, man. Even
Go ahead. It makes you feel better a little bit that he had NIL money.
Yes.
So he's not completely like dirt poor after college, but
And-
it's still terrible.
That's the purpose of this NIL money.
Yes.
To make sure
Yeah.
you have something to fall back on, and I'm totally for it.
Yes.
But they need to learn how to handle it. They can't be Caleb Williams.
No, I totally agree. I think Caleb Williams is a case study on how not to handle NIL money. Because I think that wow, great. Damn, Spain is all over Cyprus. I'm sitting here watching soccer. Because I'm trying to sharpen my.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna turn you into a fanatic.
Dude, I'm telling you, once I get into it, I get into it. Holy anyway, yes, I think Caleb Williams could be a case study. I think Shador Sanders is doing very, very well. His team clearly not as good, because they got dump trucked by USC. But I think that's a very good point. Suffix Finest says also Eagles win Monday night will put the rest of the NFL on notice. You know who's going to put the NFL on notice today are the Dallas Cowboys because they're going to absolutely boat race the Carolina Panthers. And we'll have this discussion again about Dak Prescott being the greatest quarterback in NFL history. And so to business. So this year, the New York Jets are 4-5. And I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but are you guys surprised that the Jets are 4-5? Is it a good surprise, bad surprise? Where did you expect them to be without Aaron Rodgers at this point in the season? Miami J, go ahead. Where did you expect them to be?
Well, we talked about it week one. We all wrote him off immediately when Aaron Rodgers went down. I didn't expect them to be 4-5. Honestly, I expected it to kind of be worse, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
I didn't think they could compete at all. But here they are, 4-5. Now their whole season is going to hinge on these next 7 days.
Yes.
They play, I think, Buffalo today, and then they play Miami on Friday.
Friday, yes.
You know, I'm a Dolphins fan, so to me, it's not a good surprise. So, hey, if they can do it, they can do it. But I don't know. They got a tough stretch coming up.
They do. Blaze, are you surprised? Are you thinking, hey, I mean, this is what we expected? What are your thoughts on the Jets?
I thought they would tread water because their team is stacked. And Zach Wilson isn't playing too bad.
No, he's
like,
not.
Between the 20s, he's good.
Yes.
But it's when he hits the red zone, he just kind of falls apart. And I think that's due to the offensive coordinator. And I think you need to simplify and get screens and stuff. And I don't think Nathaniel Hackett's doing that.
Dude, that is absolutely positively the perfect segue because I went back and I've got a new toy, guys. It's called Stathead. Thank you, Stathead. Dude, I can't even begin to tell you guys. Honestly, I was on Stathead for like 7 hours yesterday. It was like finding the red pill all over again. You can get stats from anyway. I don't want to get too excited. So I went and I used Stathead to compile these offensive points per game rankings under Nathaniel Hackett since 2013. Okay. Now, each and every one of these years, he was the offensive coordinator. And as you can see, if it's in green, that means he had a top 10 offense. If it's in red, it had a bottom 10 offense, and this is in terms of points per game. If it's in black, it was probably somewhere in the middle. So basically, 11 through 19, right? So that middle third. So the first time his first year was with 2013. He had E.J. Manuel as his quarterback. They ranked 22nd in points per game. No problem. It's his first year as an offensive coordinator. He had E.J. Manuel. The very next year, he improved. He improved with Kyle Orton because Kyle Orton is a better quarterback than E.J. Manuel. Then in 2016, he goes to Jacksonville. He didn't have a job in 15. He goes to Jacksonville. And now the Jaguars are 27th. In 18, they're 24th. But he had 1 year. This is his best year. Nathaniel Hackett's best coaching job was with Blake Bortles when the Jacksonville Jaguars were third in scoring. Then he had 3 years in a row, 19, 20, and 21, where he had a top 10 defense or a top 10 offense in scoring. And now he's got a bottom 10 defense the last couple of seasons, of course, being fired in Denver halfway through the season last year and this year with the New York Jets. Now, I've talked about this before where we have these coaches, and we've discussed this off of the air, is that there are some coaches who are just in proximity of greatness. We all thought Bill Belichick was the system. It's clear that Tom Brady was the system. Listen, Bill Belichick is the GOAT. He's the greatest coach ever, but it would be disingenuous of us to say that Tom Brady wasn't a huge part of that. This isn't to besmirch Bill Belichick's name, but if he doesn't have Brady, he doesn't have 6 Super Bowls, and that's a fact. Adam Gase was the quarterback whisperer. Why? Because of Peyton Manning. Well, Nathaniel Hackett is benefiting from the same proximity. He happened to be the offensive coordinator in 19, 20, and 21, where they had top 10 offenses. His quarterback was Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is a legend, first ballot Hall of Famer. So what happens when he gets to Denver? He's got Russell Wilson, who's not quite as good as Aaron Rodgers, 27th in the league. And now the New York Jets, with Nathaniel Hackett as the offensive coordinator, are 24th in points. This means that 23 NFL teams are scoring more than they do on a weekly basis. The problem is not Zach Wilson. The problem is Nathaniel Hackett. What say you, Jay Blaze?
So I've heard Nathaniel Hackett's system is very complicated, and I think that's why him and Rodgers got along, because Rodgers been in the league for a while.
I did not
and
know
so
that.
He could,
Okay.
and because you look at these, and EJ Manuel, he wasn't experienced enough to deal with a complex system.
Right.
And dude,
right.
the only outlier is that Blake Bortles, but the Jaguars had a nasty defense.
Yes,
that
they
year.
did.
So I think that corresponds to the third offense, because I guarantee they were getting easy possessions where they had better field position in those areas. So that could be the difference maker.
Okay.
And yeah, Wilson, you need to give Wilson like a very simple offense
Yes.
that gets easy completions, give him a rhythm. And I don't know if he's doing that.
Miami J, what are your thoughts on the? I mean, the stats are clear. I'm not. I don't want to say that Nathaniel Hackett is not qualified to be a coach in the NFL. I think it needs a few more years of seasoning, because we don't have that many years of success if he doesn't have a legendary quarterback.
Yeah, it's clear he needs an elite quarterback for him to succeed.
Yes.
2017,
yes.
that
yes.
was
yes.
was also
yes.
the year
yes.
that
yes. The fuck was that?
I don't know.
Okay, sorry about that.
2017,
That's me
that
getting
was
hit.
also the
Yes.
year,
Yes. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
where Blake Bortles kind of broke out, and he
Yeah.
had DJ Sharpe came into the league and just lit everybody up.
Yes.
So yeah, he needs that elite quarterback in order for his system to work. Jay Blaze just said it. A quick thing about the Jets still treading water, though. I just noticed other than the Browns and the Chiefs, they've given up the fewest points in the AFC.
Wow. So they've got a good defense.
Yeah, that defense is keeping them in the game.
Wow, very
It's
good.
nothing to do with the offense.
Let me bounce an idea off you guys, right? So we've got Zach Wilson in New York. Clearly, I don't know if he's the long-term solution or not. Who knows? But I'm going to tell you something. I think the one team, if they can, who should trade for Zach Wilson, and that is the San Francisco 49ers. How do you think Zach Wilson and his arm talent, and again, Nathaniel Hackett is not the quarterback whisperer. The quarterback whisperer is Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan made the last pick in the draft, turned the last pick in the draft into a potential MVP candidate. The kid is 12-3 as a starter. I'm not taking anything away from Brock Purdy, but the facts are facts. Everywhere Kyle Shanahan goes, the quarterbacks do well. Robert Griffin III, Matt Ryan, who else? Dude, he took Jimmy Garoppolo to a Super Bowl, and now we've got Brock Purdy. Sam Darnold probably would have looked great if Brock Purdy hadn't missed a couple of weeks ago with that concussion. What do you guys think of that idea? How do you think Zach Wilson would look in a Kyle Shanahan offense? Do you think it's too much, not enough? Jay Blaze, what are your thoughts?
I will say Kyle Shanahan's offense is suited to a guy like Mac Jones or Kirk Cousins.
I agree.
Like one of these very fast processing and just short passes. I think he would fit better in the Rams with McVay, because he's a big hitter. And if you give him Nakua and Cooper Kupp,
oh wow,
I think you give him a year with McVay, I think he would thrive, because
I think McVay's systems are also notorious for being very complex. Kyle Shanahan's system, as weird as it can get sometimes, it's simpler. It's much simpler.
Okay.
Like you just said, it's based on short passing, getting the ball out quick. I think most quarterbacks in the NFL are probably equipped to run that system.
I think so too. I think so too.
Maybe he could succeed there.
I think he could too. Oh man, I just had a thought. So
sorry, having said that, I don't play Zach Wilson over Brock Purdy.
Oh no. Zach Wilson needs to find a coach that will help him to make better decisions. And the way you help a quarterback to make better decisions is by putting him in a simpler offensive system. And Miami J just pointed that out. I think, and don't get me wrong, Nathaniel Hackett, he's not a hack. He knows what he's doing. His father was Paul Hackett, so he's got the coaching gene in there somewhere. I'm not saying I don't think he's ever going to be an NFL head coach again, but I think he needs a little bit more seasoning. But his offense is very complicated. And what was the other offense? Oh, dude, Mike McDaniel. He's another guy. Now, let me ask you this, Miami J. Mike McDaniel. Watching you watched the Dolphins. Is Mike McDaniel's offense, is that a complex offense like maybe a Nathaniel Hackett or somebody else, or is it a simpler offense like maybe a Sean McVay or a Kyle Shanahan?
Look, nobody has classified it as complex yet.
Okay.
I think mainly it's because it's so new. They classify it as revolutionary, fast-paced, all these things. But when you have an offense that thrives like it has, I tend to think it's not that complex. I think people can come in and grasp it rather quickly.
Very good. Very good. A couple of statements here. Guys making very good statements here. Phantom 313, welcome back to Basic Chat Privileges. Phantom 313 says, I think Houston is the most dangerous team in the AFC. Jay Blaze, agree or disagree?
I would agree with that.
Okay, Miami J, agree or disagree?
I can agree with that. If Deshaun hadn't gone down, I would say the Browns, but the Texans, yeah, they're up there.
Dude, 3 for 3. 2 AFC North quarterbacks go down in the same week. Yeah, the Houston Texans are absolutely the most dangerous team in the AFC. Go ahead.
And they're playing over their skis. They have nothing to lose.
Absolutely,
it's
yeah.
like
house money
going on the road.
Yep, it's like house money.
I'm gonna make this point later, but the hallmark of a good coach, Belichick is perfect, notorious for this. Everybody's been notorious for this. Is making a team greater than the sum of its parts.
Yes,
they're doing
100%.
that in Houston in droves. That team should not be this good.
No. No, they should not. Do you think, before we move on to the next topic, Jay Blaze, do you think the Carolina Panthers made a mistake by drafting Bryce Young over C.J. Stroud, just based on what we've seen thus far?
I've seen from Colts fans, they wanted Frank Wright fired multiple times.
Yeah, they're stupid.
And they're like, is Frank Wright just a guy who should be an OC and not a head coach? I think he's a good head coach, but I don't know because I don't really watch Colts game that much. But Bryce Young, I still think he could be something in a year or two.
Okay.
But dude, CJ Stroud is like a bolt of lightning. Like,
he is
I
unbelievable.
don't know how it makes no sense.
I will say this. CJ Stroud appears to process information very, very quickly. And he's got this quick release. It's unbelievable. It really, really is unbelievable. Phantom 3 and 3 says you can throw the Falcons in a Zach trade. Probably could. Fucksood says, what are our thoughts on the Vikings' new quarterback? What are your thoughts on Josh Dobbs, Jay Blaze? And then I'll get Miami Jay's opinion on this. What do you think about Josh Dobbs?
I like Josh Dobbs. I think he is balling out for a contract.
Crazy, man.
It is. Can you imagine how difficult it is going for the Cardinals to the Vikings in 1 week and still winning that football game?
Unbelievable.
Like the guy, he just has winning intangibles. He's like Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
Jalen Hurts just finds a way to win.
That's right.
And the Cardinals were always competitive under Dobbs those first 5 weeks.
Beat the Cowboys.
And he just knows how to win.
Miami J, your thoughts on Josh Dobbs, the pastronaut?
Yeah, I think the Cardinals made a huge mistake, getting rid of him.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
I would have played him over Kyler Murray. Money be damned. I would have
straight up.
Yeah.
I don't think the Vikings are dead without Cousins by any means.
Okay. I totally agree. You want to know who else regrets what they did with Josh Dobbs? The Cleveland Browns, because they released Josh Dobbs earlier this season. Like, I think before the season started. Go ahead, Blaze.
I don't understand why the Browns didn't trade a 5th-round pick for Josh Dobbs.
It makes no
Josh
sense.
Dobbs would keep you in the playoffs and maybe even get you to a Super Bowl. That he's not the greatest quarterback, but he just knows how to win. And with that defense, he would get you there.
Unbelievable. Yeah, Blackmail Media says Dobbs is nice. I agree with Blaze. I do like the fact that Dobbs, and it's the intangibles, or like Dak Prescott. Say what you want about Dak Prescott. He's a great leader. I think Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts, like as far as their leadership, I think they're on par with one another. So when you have a guy in the locker room who can lead like that, you know what? I almost compare this personnel wise to Brock Purdy, because when Brock Purdy came in, the team loved him immediately. George Kittle bought in, Deebo Samuel bought in, Trent Williams said, "Hey man, we like the kid. He was brash, he was confident, and we like him." Josh Dobbs appears to be doing the same thing. It's almost like he instantly made them better, and now the Minnesota Vikings could actually make the playoffs. Anybody have any last thoughts on Josh Dobbs?
I would just say,
I will.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
We'll go Miami Jay, then we'll go Jay Blaze.
I love it when a quarterback comes out of nowhere.
Oh, it's awesome.
Like this. And it seems to happen far more often than, say, a first rounder just being amazing. So it's the almost like the Tony Romo story, the undrafted kid who comes out of nowhere.
Oh yeah,
or the Tom Brady story.
That's right.
I love it when that happens.
You know what's interesting? I think the reason, and I'm going to circle it back here. I think the reason why we like quarterbacks or players in general, undrafted, Mr. Irrelevant, pick 199 and Breeze, I think the reason why we like that is because we know those guys had to work for what they got. And this is no slight on Peyton Manning, but Peyton Manning, dude, he's a part of the first family of football. His dad was a legend. Dad went to Ole Miss. Peyton Manning went to Tennessee, set all the records, could have won the Heisman. Comes in as the number 1 overall pick. And guess what? Peyton Manning lived up to the hype. But then you got a guy like a Tom Brady or a Drew Brees who had to sit behind Phillip Rivers in San Diego, who got passed up on by the Miami medical staff. I bet they're still kicking themselves in the ass for that. We like guys who have to overcome adversity. This is why we love the story of Jalen Hurts. We all watched him get benched in the second half against Georgia in that national title game, and we watched Tua win the game. Then the next year, we watched Jalen Hurts come in for an injured Tua and beat Georgia in the SEC title game, go to Oklahoma, damn near win the Heisman, gets picked up by the Eagles, and the rest is history. I think the Josh Dobbs story, and you want to know something, Josh Dobbs might actually be the leader in the clubhouse in terms of comeback player of the year.
Yeah. And that also juxtaposes perfectly the tragedy of the story of a guy like Caleb Williams.
Yes. Oh, I was coming right back around to it, and yeah, you did it. Caleb Williams is going to come in with all this hype. He's not going to be motivated to work as hard as, say, a Tom Brady, the skinny kid out of Michigan drafted at 199, or an undrafted quarterback like Tony Romo. That's exactly what I was coming around to, and I lost track. Thanks, Miami J.
I got you.
Appreciate that.
And I will say, the Browns, when they were kicking Baker out, were trying to tell everyone, "Oh, he's dumb. He's not a leader." And then you hear him in the with the Buccaneers taking offensive linemen out to like vacationing, doing all that stuff to connect with the. And I guarantee Josh Dobbs is doing exactly that.
That kind of stuff matters. I remember last year, Taylor Heineke, when he was on his run with the Commanders, every week they won, he would get his offensive line Air Force Ones in the color of the team they beat. Unfortunately, he got his offensive line green and silver because they beat the Eagles on a bullshit fucking call, by the way. But Taylor Heineke does that kind of stuff, and I think Josh Dobbs is the type of dude who buys his offensive line scooters for Christmas or something like that. Okay, let us move to our next story. A lot of people after last season thought that Russell Wilson was washed. I'm not going to say that I went all in, but I was questioning myself. I was like, dude, is Russell Wilson really done? Well, it's clear now that he was not the problem in Denver, and he is still not the problem. So let me bring this up for you. So what I did is I went back, thanks to StatHead again. So I went back and I looked at Russell Wilson's entire season in 2022 under Nathaniel Hackett, and I compared it to his season now here with Sean Payton. So last year under Nathaniel Hackett, 60.5% completion percentage. I think that's the second lowest in his career, 30th in the NFL. He was 13th in passing yards, 19th in touchdowns, 13th in interceptions. The Broncos scored not even 17 points a game. That's almost dead last. His passer rating was 84.4. That's the third worst of his career, good for 27th in the NFL. This season, he is at 67.9%. That's 10th in the NFL. Now his yards are down. He's still 23rd in the NFL, but he's already thrown 2 more touchdowns in 9 games than he did in 17 games all last season. He is second, number 2 in the NFL in touchdowns. He only has 4 interceptions. I actually mistyped that. That is tied for the 5th least. The Denver Broncos are scoring 21.8 points per game. They're 19th in the league, but that's a big time improvement. And now his passer rating is 104.0. That's nearly a 20-point quarterback rating jump. So clearly, we saw what Nathaniel Hackett was the problem. Now we see that Sean Payton is, I think he has improved Russ to the point to where we can say definitively at this point, Russ is probably not done. So let me go to Miami J first. Has Sean Payton fixed Russell Wilson, or is there still work to be done?
Yeah. On Russell Wilson, I don't know that there's still work to be done. I mean, he's pretty much a polished product at this point. But I mean, the Broncos have come a long way since that 70-point walloping in Miami. So Sean Payton has definitely made the Broncos better. Just in this half a season, they've shown drastic improvement.
Yes.
And I mean, the numbers, they show everything. Look at that touchdown number. That touchdown number is so telling that Russell Wilson's already thrown in half a season more touchdowns than he did all of that 1 year with.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, Sean Payton. If Hackett was the problem, Payton was the solution.
Okay, very good. Jay Blaze, what are your thoughts on this? I
think it was a
good.
It was a mash of things where you had Russell get in his own office on the second floor, which completely isolated from his teammates. You had I think his spiritual guide or whatever, or somebody who helped him keep in the same headspace.
Yeah.
Died. And so he didn't have that.
Oh, you are right. You're right about that. I heard about that. You're right.
Yeah. And dude, I don't think so. Nathaniel Hackett's problem, I think he doesn't adjust his offense to certain quarterbacks.
Yes.
I think he wants the quarterbacks to adjust to him, and the real good coaches adjust their stuff to the player. And so Russell didn't do any bootlegs with Nathaniel, and Russell's 5'9". He can't see over offensive linemen.
No,
they were trying to get him to be a pocket quarterback. That's not who he is.
No, it's never been who he is.
Yeah, so I think Sean is catering things to Russell's strengths now. So you're seeing a lot better. And Nathaniel, during the Hard Knocks, you only saw a little bit of him, but he's a weird guy.
Yeah, he is.
I think Peyton's a lot easier to talk to and coach Russell up. So I think he's having a lot more issues.
You're right, Nathaniel. You're right, Nathaniel Hackett. And listen, if this is who he is, that's fine. But he is a little weird. I think Sean Payton probably has much more. It appears that Sean Payton has much more social aptitude. Before we continue on with this topic, Phantom313 on the YouTube side wants to know: do you think Arthur Blank should sell the team? Also, Arthur Smith is not the guy. As a Falcons fan, this is disheartening. What are your thoughts? Because nobody knows that much about Arthur Smith. I think he's been there for one, maybe 2 seasons. What do you? Yeah,
I think he's been there 3 years.
I did not know that. I didn't know that. For whatever reason, I thought this was his first year. So, okay, Miami J, what are your thoughts on Arthur Smith? Do the Falcons need to replace him, or do they just need a better quarterback?
I think they should start with a better quarterback. That's probably an easier solution.
Sure.
Start there, see if that's the problem. If that doesn't fix it, then go ahead.
Okay, Jay Blaze?
I think Desmond Ridder is not the guy. And I think you clean house if you're drafting a quarterback, because you want your new coach to have the guy he wants.
Yes.
And because that's the worst thing, to have a quarterback that you've had for a year. The Browns did this, or the Bears did this. And you want that new coach to say, I'm going to gamble my chips on the guy I drafted.
Absolutely. 100%, man. Yeah, that and coaches and GMs, they're egotistical like that. He's my guy. I got to make sure I ride with him. I think it's definitive. I think we can all agree that, yes, Russell Wilson had the worst season of his career last year, but I think it's pretty clear he's not washed. It just took, again, his spiritual advisor dying, he's probably having to get used to that, but he has a better coach now. And the locker room appears to be rallying around Russell Wilson. You can kind of see their body language, much different than it was on the sideline last year. So our next topic is there have been a lot of quarterbacks that have been injured and out for the season. And it's interesting. When I heard about Joe Burrow being out for the season, I told Devin, I said, look, Joe Burrow being out for the season, the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be unwatchable. This is why we have these stringent roughing the passer calls. We all bitch and we all moan about it when it's a call against our team. But, dude, the Jets have been almost unwatchable without Aaron Rodgers. Thankfully, the Minnesota Vikings lucked out and got Josh Dobbs. Gardner Minshew is not really the guy we had him here in Philly. Deshaun Watson is the best quarterback on that squad. They're going to be starting DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Daniel Jones is out with the ACL tear. What is it, Tommy DeVito? Like, what is he, like a wise guy, a mob boss? And then, of course, nobody knows who Joe Burrow's backup is. So what are you guys' thoughts on all of these? Like, this is 6 NFL quarterbacks right here, guys. That's almost 20% of the league. Miami J, what are your thoughts on all these quarterbacks going down?
Well, we were just talking about underdog quarterbacks. Before I get to my point, watch Tommy DeVito come in and just slide up the league.
Wow. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something?
But look, this is why we have roughing the passer calls. This is why quarterbacks are the most coveted position in the NFL. You got to have an elite guy. Out of these 6 that we're seeing right now, obviously the team most hurt by it is the Bengals. The Bengals are
done. Oh yeah, they're done.
And that was clear the first 3 weeks of the season when they played without him. So yeah, the Bengals are done. I think the Browns maybe have a shot. That defense can keep them in it. The Giants weren't going anywhere anyway. Minnesota will be fine. The Jets have been treading water, and well, the Colts are the Colts.
Okay, Jay Blaze, what are your thoughts on all of these season-ending surgeries? We've got an ACL, we've got 2 shoulders, a wrist, and 2 Achilles tendons.
See, this is why, quarterback is so important with all these rule changes.
Absolutely.
Like, you can get by, like, if this was 10 or 20 years ago, and you still had rule changes like that kind of favored running backs and ground and pound, but it's not that league anymore.
Nope.
You need a quarterback, and our quarterback play is so bad right now.
Yes, it is.
And so you only have like 10 guys that are that you think can win a Super Bowl, and Joe Burrow is that guy. And dude, you take Joe Burrow away from that team, dude, it's going to be a train wreck.
It is absolutely a wrap. Why do you think, Miami J, is there a reason why we have so many season-ending injuries? Look, I think Aaron Rodgers' injury happened because the New York Jets have a crappy offensive line. I think it was pretty clear. But other than that, why do you think so many quarterbacks this year in particular are out for the year? It's almost unprecedented.
Yeah, I don't think there's an overarching reason for it. I think you got to look at each injury kind of in a vacuum. God, I don't even know what to say to that because an injury is an injury is going to happen regardless. I think, look, if this starts becoming a bigger problem, then you got to take a look inside your team. Take a look at your training staff. How are these guys preparing? What are they eating? How are they training?
There we go.
Then if these knees start becoming, literally too weak to handle it, then you got to start taking a deeper look. But at this point, I mean, I think it's an unfortunate situation that we have all these quarterbacks out right now. But I'm not sure it's an anomaly. And Jay Blaze just said it. If these were the days of the elite running backs that could handle 30, 40 carries a game, we wouldn't
be all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next question is which of these teams has a chance to actually make the playoffs? So the Browns, let's take a look at the Browns. Let's take a look at the Browns schedule. Okay, so today they've got this. Okay, so they've got the Steelers. Let me shrink this a little bit. So they've got the Steelers, the Broncos. I think they're going to lose to the Steelers. I think they're going to lose to the Broncos. They'll beat the Rams. They'll lose to the Jags. They'll probably beat the Bears. They'll lose to the Texans and the Jets. And then, of course, the Bengals. I mean, do you think the Browns in that crowded AFC North? Do you think? I don't think they have it. I don't think they can make the playoffs either. What do you think, Miami J?
I think they could. If they do, though, it'll be on the back of that defense, obviously. I'm not so sure that I think they can still beat the Steelers. I still think they can beat the Broncos. The Jaguars and the Texans are probably the two toughest games they have there. Maybe the Rams.
Okay,
And the
so
Jets.
so I
I
say
think they could beat the Broncos and Steelers.
okay, so I say no. Jay Blaze says no. Miami J, do you think the Browns can make the playoffs?
If I'm betting on it, no.
Okay, very good. Yeah, and that's
So-
going to be the standard. Would you put money on them to make the playoffs? My answer is hell no.
I will say you have the Raiders and you have the Bills that are lurking,
Yes.
and like the Browns. I think the Steelers now with the Bengals and the Browns like falling off.
Yeah.
I think the Steelers get that wild card.
Yep.
I think the Raiders get a wild card, and you have the Texans lurking
Texans.
too.
Dude,
Yeah.
watch out for Houston, man. Watch out for
I
Houston.
I like Houston better than the Raiders to get that one.
So do I. So do I. Houston's looking real good. So here's the Giants' remaining schedule. So they've got the Commanders. They'll lose that game. I don't think the Giants weren't going to make the playoffs
they have
anyway.
no
I think
shot.
the answer is no. They've got to play the Eagles twice. Yeah, they absolutely don't have a chance.
I think they have the worst team.
Yes,
like,
the Giants are the
overall,
worst team in
talent-wise.
football. Yeah.
That's the worst team in the NFL.
Yeah, the Giants
Yeah.
are the worst team in football. Now, the Jets today. Now, the Bills are, I think the Jets lose to Buffalo today. Buffalo's desperate. They're 5-5. They're probably done, but I think the Bills have to run the table if they want to have a chance. I think the Jets lose 2 straight. I think the Dolphins get them. I think they probably beat the Falcons. They lose to the Texans. They get beat by the Dolphins again. The Commanders, they might beat the Browns. They probably will. I don't know who that last. Oh, the Jets and the Patriots, they'll probably lose that game. Do you think, Jay Blaze, do you think the Jets could make the playoffs as constructed with this remaining schedule?
They need Aaron Rodgers to come back
Okay.
and
Right.
actually connect with Hackett, because right now they're just treading water.
Yeah.
And I don't see how you do it with that AFC. Like you have the Texans, like I just explained, they need a wild card spot,
Yep.
and there's no wild card spot unless they get Aaron Rodgers back.
I agree. Totally agree. Miami J, where are you at?
I'm going with no. They would have to almost by default. They would have to win these next 2 games, and I don't see that happening.
It's possible, but not likely. We're 3 for 3 on this. The Minnesota Vikings. I think that we're much more confident in the Minnesota Vikings. They've got the Broncos today in the Sunday night game. That's going to be a tough game. We'll be calling that. They've got the Bears. I think they'll beat the Bears. The Raiders is going to be another good matchup. They'll beat the Bengals. That's going to be tough against the Lions. They'll beat the Packers, and they've got the Lions again. That's a tough schedule. I think they can beat the Bears and the Bengals, but maybe if they get a split against the Lions and pull it out against the Raiders, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for Vikings. Miami J, do you think the Vikings with Josh Dobbs can make the playoffs?
I do.
Okay.
And the main reason I say that is who else is gonna make the playoffs?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
the
If not
NFC
them,
doesn't
who?
have very many teams that can fight for those wild card spots.
That makes sense. What do you think, Blaze?
So right now, the top wild card spot is owned by the Cowboys.
Right.
So then you have Seattle or the 49ers who's going to get that other wild card spot. So that third one is up for grabs. And I don't see anyone getting it besides the Vikings if they can. All they need to do is win, what, four games?
For their next 6, and I think they're in, man.
They're already
Yeah.
they're already at 6 wins. They can
Yeah.
definitely do it.
I think so I think 10 wins. Does 10 wins get you in the NFC?
Pretty much at this year, yeah.
I think 10 wins get you in. What do you think, Blaze? Are you in agreement with that? 10, 9,
In
10,
the
11?
NFC, yeah, I do.
There we go. There you go. I think 10 wins in the AFC. I think 10 wins in the NFC gets you in. I think you've got to have at least 11 to get in the AFC.
I think the Vikings need some things to happen,
Okay.
but they need the AFC teams to beat some of these NFC teams.
And I also think they got to split with Detroit. They got to win one of those games against the Lions if they want to have a chance.
Either
Like-
that or everybody else. Like if
Yes.
they come in with to those Detroit games having won their last 4 or 5, yeah, they can do it.
Phantom 313 says he thinks 9 wins get you in the NFC. That's probably, you know what? I would go with between 9 and 10 wins probably get you in the NFC. Between 10 and 11 wins get you in the AFC.
I will say
Go ahead.
one of those the Lions game is at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if the Lions get
I
the
was
first?
Yes, that's
I
right.
was just gonna say, they might be resting a lot of guys.
That's
They might
very,
be-
very true. Oh, wow. That's a very good point because they've got him in 2 of the last 3 weeks. The Lions could either have the NFC locked up or they might not be able to, maybe make their playoff position better or worse. They might be resting their starters.
Yeah.
They might be resting their starters. Or now think of it this way. Let's say they do get the number 1 overall seed. Do you really? Yeah, I think players would love to get 2 weeks off. I think they would love to get rest versus rust. Rest is always beneficial in the NFL. Rust is
In
what
the
gets you
NFL,
in
yeah.
baseball. In the NFL, absolutely. Absolutely.
In other sports, basketball, soccer, no.
No, you can't do that. Totally
And
agree.
I like it more that
That the what?
where if they took that last week off.
Ah, yes. Yeah, I agree with that.
Because the Ravens and the Cowboys, that hurt them so much because they were very they had the momentum on their side.
Yeah.
But I don't like Jared Goff isn't that typical momentum quarterback.
No, he's not.
He's
You're
more
right.
technical. Yeah. So I like it better.
Okay, the Indianapolis Colts. I don't think they were a playoff team with Anthony Richardson. They were exciting, but I don't think there was any way they were going to get in. What do you guys think? I mean, they've got a tough schedule as it is. They got the Buccaneers, the Titans, the Bengals. I mean, it's not a very tough schedule, but the Colts are not really very good either. What do you guys think?
Look, I think that if they go on the road and maybe get a couple of wins against the Bengals and the Titans, they're 5-5 right now.
Yeah.
Maybe they could go into those last 3 weeks fighting it out with the Raiders and Texans.
They could get in, but they need help. Yeah, they need help. What do you think, Jay Blaze?
The AFC wild card is too competitive.
Yeah.
And this is the bottom feeder team.
Yeah. Totally.
They would definitely need things to happen.
Oops. Sorry about that. Totally flashed
And
you guys out.
are they playing the Texans twice or once in the last few weeks?
Let's see. Hold on. Let me see here. Let's see. The Colts play the Texans the last game of the season, and I think they've already played them. Let me look here. The Colts. Yeah. They beat the Texans earlier in the season.
Oof.
Yeah, they did. But they've got the Texans. They've got the Texans on the last day of the season on January 7th, and the Texans might have something at stake here.
I think whatever happens, that AFC wildcard race in the last 3 weeks is going to be awesome to watch.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Hang on 1 second. Let's go to. Give me 2 seconds here. There we go. Excellent. Oops. No. Thought I had it. No, there you guys are. Let's see. Let's go home. Not really sure why this isn't working. Present. No.
We do it live.
Oh yeah, hey, we do it live, man. There it is. There it is. Okay, very good. Very good. Okay, Phantom 313 says, I believe the Dolphins and KC are the best teams, and the Texans are a dark horse. The Chargers are a hot mess. What do you say to that?
I agree. Yeah, can't disagree with that.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question.
They're losing. They're not making the playoffs.
The jury's out on the Dolphins.
You think so?
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
I don't know, man. They got to beat someone good. That's simple.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Do you think Tua's MVP case rests on him beating over the 500 team?
Yeah.
Funny you should mention.
Yeah,
Yes. Absolutely. And so does Dax, because Dak hasn't beat a team over 500. Speaking.
Let's say Miami goes into the playoffs, even with let's say a first round bye. Why the hell not?
Okay.
But they haven't beat a good team. They haven't beat a team over 500. Do you have any confidence that they can win a playoff game? I don't.
Well, you maybe not, but the Eagles had a pretty easy schedule last season. I think of because we ended up at 14-3, I think. Of our 14 wins, half of them came against losing teams, and we still steamrolled our way to the Super Bowl and led by 14 at halftime. I think in the playoffs, now let's just say Miami does get the number 1 overall seed. That means those games are going to be played down in Miami. That is a home field advantage for the Dolphins.
Sure, but
that is definitely home field advantage for the Dolphins.
Maybe still the cautious optimism that I have about
that. Makes sense. Yep. Hey, look, I'm exactly the same way. Speaking of speaking of MVP, pardon me, a lot of people are talking about C.J. Stroud as a potential MVP candidate, and when I first heard about it, I thought to myself, okay, that's ridiculous. So then I went and looked at his numbers. Guys, he is second in the NFL in passing yards to Sam Howell. He is fourth with 15 touchdowns. He has only thrown 2 interceptions among qualified quarterbacks. That is the second least. He has a passer rating of 101.0. That's sixth. Now let's look at another candidate. Sorry about that. Another candidate is Tua Tagovailoa. So Tua is third in the NFL in passing. He has the most touchdowns. He has the 5th most interceptions at 8, which comes with the territory. He is second in passer rating. And, of course, Patrick Mahomes, who's always there, kind of having an off year. He's 6th in passing. He's 3rd in NFL touchdowns. He's got the 4th most interceptions. And, of course, tied with Tua, who also has 8, 4th and 5th. And his rating is 96.7. That is the second lowest of his career for 11th. So of these 3 players, who do you think has the strongest MVP resume? Is it Tua, is it CJ Stroud, or is it Mahomes? I'm going to start with Blaze. What you got?
So I think the thing that hurts CJ Stroud is that he's a rookie. I don't think the voters will want to give him a MVP for his rookie year if he's going to get rookie of the year. Because I think he's locked up rookie of the year. Tua, I think he needs to beat a team over 500. Mahomes, he's already had 2 MVPs. I think it hurts him that he's already won those. I think the dark horse is Jalen Hurts. Because somehow they're gritting it out, these wins. But if out of those 3, I would say Mahomes, because, dude, beyond Kelsey, I can't name another receiver they have.
Dude, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and that's about it. And he's not even that good. Miami J, what are your thoughts on the MVP race? Do you think who's got the best resume at this point between these 3 guys?
Let me first just ask, how crazy good is Patrick Mahomes to have a 97-point passer rating, and we're saying he's having an off year?
Jesus, I mean, dude, unbelievable, unbelievable, man. That's how unbelievable this dude is, man. It's crazy.
Having said that, let's say if the MVP vote was today, and those are my top 3 candidates, I'll give it to Tua.
Okay.
He's proving it with the numbers, and the record's still there, even though they haven't beat a team over 500. Having said that, I agree with Jay Blaze. Honestly, if you give me those 3 candidates and then give me Jalen Hurts also, right now I give it to Jalen Hurts.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
The record's there.
Yeah.
No matter what they have to do to win, to me, that's the mark of a valuable player. It's not so much in the stats. It's in, can you will your team across the finish line? You put them on your back and get that proverbial last yard, even with a tush punt. But
Jalen is consistently there. He scored 3 touchdowns, and he's accounted for 4 total touchdowns, rushed for 3 in the Super Bowl. I didn't even think to put Jalen up there simply because of his numbers. But you guys are right. It is a statistical / individual statistical award. CJ Stroud has the stats, but not the record. Patrick Mahomes doesn't have the stats, but he has the record. Jalen Hurts doesn't have the stats, but he has the record, but he has the good record.
Without looking at the stats and just looking at the record and how the team is playing, would you maybe throw Jared Goff into that conversation?
Dude, I think Jared Goff is definitely in the MVP conversation, man. I think Dan Campbell's going to win Coach of the Year as well.
Let me ask you: you take all those teams, and Kirk Cousins is completely average. Like, you put Kirk Cousins in any of those situations, are they anywhere as good? If you replace any of those teams with Kirk Cousins.
Wow, that is a very good question. I think it depends on the team, right?
I think Houston maybe is just as good, but Miami and Kansas City, no, they need Tua and they need Mahomes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree. A couple of questions here from in the chats. Who do you think wins the Heisman? Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, or Michael Penix Jr.? Who do you got, Blaze?
I think Harrison. I think it's going to be wide out.
Oh, you think it's going to be you think it's going to be Marvin Harrison Jr.? Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, the last wide receiver to win the Heisman Trophy, Philadelphia's own. Never mind. The Eagles' own Devontae Smith. He won the Heisman Trophy in 2020. His quarterback was Mac Jones. That's why Mac Jones is in the NFL. Who do you think gets it? Miami J. Is it Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, or even Harrison?
I haven't followed the race too closely this year, unfortunately. But if I'm voting today, from what I have seen, I give it to Bo Nix.
Okay, yeah, Bo Nix is playing. He is playing lights out. I got to give it to Bo Nix as well. Or actually, I'm sorry. The only reason I'm going to give it to Michael Penix over Bo Nix is because Michael Penix has the better record, and head-to-head, Washington went into Eugene and they beat Oregon. But yeah, very, very good conversation. Phantom313 says, do you think Tyreek Hill will get 2,000 receiving yards? Miami J, what do you think?
I think he might. Yeah, he might. And if he does, he better be in that MVP conversation.
Ooh, all right. I totally agree with that. Jay Blaze, what you got?
It could be because it will depend on if they sew up the first round. The first
It might come
first
down to
seed.
that last game. It might come down to that last game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might. It might actually.
And if
You
that's the
can't
case,
have two out there.
If that's the case, do you play him in the last game? If he's like
Yeah.
50 yards short of it.
Wow, that is a very good question. I think it depends on the player.
Knowing Mike McDaniel, he'll sit him. But knowing Tyreek Hill, he might have an issue with it.
Dude, Tyreek, he already said it. He wants to get 2,000 yards this season. That's what he said.
Would it help Tyreek if they were really bad? Like, the Calvin Johnson season
Yeah.
when he got all those yards.
Oh, yeah,
They were all
1,900 yards, yeah.
garbage.
Yeah, they were all. Because the Lions were terrible that year.
So it might have helped Tyreek if the Dolphins were really bad this year and they'd had like just garbage yards.
Yeah,
But him
unfortunately,
doing
they're
this
good.
competitive. That it makes me even better.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. Yeah, a lot of people tend to forget that, yeah, Calvin Johnson got all those yards in garbage time because the Detroit Lions were, of course, garbage. Okay, let us go to our next story. So, the Buffalo Bills had a disappointing loss on Monday night against the now suddenly resurgent Denver Broncos, and the brother of Bills wide receiver Stephon Diggs, his brother Trayvon Diggs, who is out for the season with an ACL tear, had a couple of tweets. He said, man, 14 got to get up out of there. He also says, let's not forget, he didn't start going off till bro got there. All right, Jay Blaze, what are your thoughts on the tweet, man?
I saw no lies there. So
no lies detected.
So you just know Stephon is telling Trayvon something, and I guarantee he could have gone even more scorched earth on this
Of course.
topic. And I think Stephon is out of there this offseason. I'm shocked he stayed this season because the end of last season was a train wreck, and I don't know what the deal is with Josh Allen. Like it doesn't make sense. Like
I think it makes
supposed to be
perfect.
a top 5 quarterback, but no.
No, I agree, and I'll make it make sense here shortly. Miami J, what are your thoughts on the Trayvon Diggs tweets? Is he basically channeling the conversations he's having with his brother, or is he just an independent contractor here?
He might be an independent contractor. He might be talking to his brother, but
Sure.
like Jay Blaze said it. He's not wrong.
I agree.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
Yep, I agree. Well, you know what we do here. We got the stats, stat head. So what I went back and I looked at Josh Allen's statistics before he got Stephon Diggs and with Stephon Diggs. So keep in mind the numbers on your screen are the averages. So before Stephon Diggs got there, Josh Allen averaged 52.6 yards, 52.6 completion percentage, 2,581 yards. He averaged 15 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. That's incredible. His rating was 76.6, and he averaged 8 wins while averaging 6 losses. Then he got Stephon Diggs. All of a sudden, now his completion percentage is up by 14 points. He's throwing for almost 2,000 yards more, literally more than tripled his average touchdowns. His interceptions are up, but that comes with the territory. And his rating is almost 20 points higher. He increased his wins by by 33%, while decreasing his losses by 33%, averaging 12-4. So I think it's clear, just like you guys said, Josh Allen was not Josh Allen until he got Trayvon Diggs, but the same could be said about all quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts wouldn't have had the year he had last year without A.J. Brown, right? You need that number one receiver. Joe Burrow wouldn't be as good as he is or was without Jamar Chase. Every team needs that number one receiver. The reason why Tua Tagovailoa is having a record-setting season is because he has Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So while we can admit that, hey, listen, Josh Allen is better with Stephon Diggs, I don't think this means that Josh Allen is garbage, or does it? Let me start with Jay Blaze. Do you think that his numbers before Diggs and with Diggs, do you think this is indicative of his talent, or is this like, well, of course he has better numbers with Stephon Diggs. He's a number one receiver. What say you?
This is very similar to Dak Prescott before he got Amari Cooper.
I like that.
And now he has CeeDee Lamb.
Yep.
Dude, you put CeeDee Lamb or Stephon Diggs and you hand them to the Chiefs.
Shit.
Dude, Mahomes is having a career year.
You saw what he did with Tyreek.
Exactly. And you give him a number one wideout. And, dude, Josh Allen doing this with a number one wideout, his numbers should be even higher.
I agree. I totally agree. Miami J, what are your thoughts? Do you think that these numbers are indicative of Allen's talent, or is it, well, of course he's going to do better. He's got a better receiver.
Right. No, I think it's the latter. Of course, he's going to do better. He's got a better receiver. Having said that, I don't think this doesn't say so much about Stephon Diggs himself.
Mm-hmm.
This says that he needed a number one receiver.
Yeah.
Instead, number one receiver
Oops.
X in there, and he would have gotten better. A quarterback needs weapons, no matter how talented he is. And I don't think Josh Allen was garbage. I don't think he's garbage now. In fact, I remember when he was drafted. I was begging the Dolphins to draft him.
Yes.
He's the guy I wanted, and he went to Buffalo, unfortunately.
God, can you imagine Josh Allen in Miami with Mike McDaniel? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Go ahead, Blaze.
I think Josh Allen's a bargain basement Ben Roethlisberger.
You know what? In the chat, Phantom313 says Josh is the version of Brett Favre. I think above the shoulders he's a gunslinger, but I agree with you. I think Josh Allen is, I don't want to say he's a poor man's Ben Roethlisberger, but his game reminds me the most of Ben Roethlisberger. And Ben Roethlisberger won 2 Super Bowls, went to 3 Super Bowls and won 2. I don't know that Josh Allen can do that. And Ben Roethlisberger had Antonio Brown for a few years, but there were a few years where he didn't have Antonio Brown and his numbers suffered.
I will say the Bills are trying to keep him from going to Cam Newton and Ben Roethlisberger,
Yes,
where his body's like broken down.
yes.
But I think Josh Allen needs his legs to be an effective quarterback.
Yes.
He needs his legs, and he needs a number one wideout.
Without the threat,
he's very dependent on things.
I agree. Miami J, do you agree with that? Do you think that Josh Allen, in order to be an effective quarterback, there has to be the threat of the run?
Of course, he absolutely needs that. That's how he made his name. If look, it's like if you take the run away from Cam Newton, he was never going to be the same guy.
No.
Running quarterbacks who make their identity because of the threat that they're going to run, need that threat continuously. If not, they just become another pocket passer.
Now, dude, I totally agree. I think the best combination in terms of the running quarterback is concerned, it's got to be Aaron Rodgers. Even though Aaron Rodgers is, let's just assume that everything healed up properly. Aaron Rodgers at 39 going on 40 years old, he can still move around. Like, he can still run for a first down. He's not what he used to be, but Aaron Rodgers, I think, is the prototypical quarterback that can move, that only does it if he absolutely has to.
I don't think Josh Allen studies like as much as he should. I don't think he does that. I think he relies on his physical gifts, not as much as Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray wants to be just instinctual, and I don't think he wants to study. But I think that you saw this with Carson Wentz too.
Yep.
Where they're so superior, and you have a big fish in a small pond, and then you put them in a big lake like the NFL, and they kind of they're going. I used to be able to like rely on just this,
Yeah.
and they're not transitioning.
Nope. Nope.
And look,
At some point, you're going to have to rely on your arm. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Miami J. You got it.
I'm saying the definition of the prototypical quarterback has changed over the last
Absolutely.
15 years. The prototypical quarterback used to be your Peyton Manning, your Dan Marino, your John Elway.
Yes.
The big, tall guy who looks like Josh Allen,
Yep.
who could sit back there and just sling the ball all over the field. Now you need a guy who's shorter, has a bigger arm, and has that threat to run.
Yep.
Without that threat to run, Josh Allen's a sitting duck.
I agree. 100%, man. 100%. And
And
go ahead.
I think Josh Allen would be better suited if he came out 20 years ago, where he was getting hard coaching in college, and he was forced to like watch tape, or maybe like because he shouldn't be this way, because he was in Wyoming.
Yeah.
He
Right.
wasn't in a Power 10 school.
Right.
And you'd think he would say, I need to grind even harder, but I don't think he has that. I don't think he has that dog in him. Like,
No, I agree. I agree with you. Here's a question from Phantom 313. Says, do you think that if the Bills do not make the playoffs, is Sean McDermott on the hot seat? Do you think so, Miami J? That's a tough one.
Maybe that's a tough one, but maybe because they came into this season with a lot of expectation. This was going to be their season.
This was supposed to be the year, and so
They were
was
supposed
last
to
year.
run the table in the AFC, and here they are struggling to keep up.
You know what? It's interesting. Ever since that epic divisional playoff game 2 years ago in the playoffs, when Josh Allen played out of his mind and lost to Kansas City in overtime with the Mahomes to Kelsey touchdown, when Andy Reid said that Josh Allen didn't deserve to win that football game, that's when Brian Daboll left. That's where the regression is. I think coaching matters. It absolutely matters. Stephon Diggs and Brian Daboll, you put those two together with Josh Allen, and you've got the kinds of years Allen's had the last couple of years. But guess what? Stephon Diggs is kind of a malcontent now. His brother is chirping, and Brian Daboll is in New York for the second straight year. I don't know, man. I think Josh Allen can be quote unquote saved, but they need somebody like a Brian Daboll to get in there and coach this kid up. I'll give you guys the last word on this.
Not got nothing to say on this.
Okay, go ahead, please.
I think Sean McDermott is a good head coach.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a great head coach. And I think he needs a really good offensive coordinator to be with him. He needs a Brian Daboll or somebody to elevate that quarterback. When he lost Brian Daboll, he didn't have that other piece. And so if they get rid of if they get rid of him, who do they replace him with? Like, who's better than him?
Right.
It's tough. Like it's like Kirk Cousins. Like,
who are you going to get?
Quarterbacks better than Kirk Cousins.
Yes.
But can you do better than Kirk Cousins?
That's a good point. That's a very good point. And is the replacement for Kirk Cousins, is he going to be as proficient in the offense with Kevin O'Connell? We don't know that. You know, you've got to know the system and everything like that. All right, we're going to switch sports here temporarily. Pardon me.
Guys, I'm going to step off right quick. I'll be back in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, you're good. So this is so the Philadelphia 76ers recently traded James Harden to the LA Clippers for basically a bag of balls. And in a press conference, James Harden had this to say to the media.
Still a great trade.
Someone that trusts me, that believes in me, that understands me, that I'm just not a...
Oh, wait a minute. Sorry about that. Hold up. My bad. There we go. Let's rewind that a little. All right, here we go.
So if I got a voice to where I can, hey, coach, I see this. You know, what you think about this? Then it's like, oh, okay. Like someone that trusts me, that believes in me, that understands me, that I'm just not I'm not a system player. I am a system.
I'm not a system player. I am a system. So, Jay Blaze, what are your thoughts on that statement by James Harden? Wow.
So this is still a great trade by Philly, getting rid of this guy.
Of course, absolutely.
So, think of his career. He was with the Thunder, and they traded him to the Rockets. The Rockets bent over backwards for him throughout his tenure there. He wanted Dwight Howard. They got Dwight Howard.
Right.
He wanted Dwight Howard gone. They got rid of him. And then they got Chris Paul. And then I think Chris Paul like called him fat, so like one practice, and so they got rid of him.
That's
They
great.
have catered to this guy so many times. You
All
saw
over the
this with
place,
Antonio
man.
Brown. You cannot cater to these
No.
athletes. They're the closest thing to women like
Wow.
that a man can be, and women, they're not held accountable at all because they are catered to every single day of their
Oh
lives.
my God.
And
dude.
then they finally hit the wall. Dude, he is a post-wall woman. He is a post-wall woman. And,
I love it. I love it.
and Philly's just like, dude, you're not worth it.
Yeah.
The best thing you got from James Harden throughout that trade was Tyrese Maxey, him mentoring Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah, exactly.
And now Maxey's going off.
Yeah, he dropped a
and that was
50
the best
burger.
thing.
Yeah, he dropped a 50 burger on Indianapolis the other night.
And Harden's play style, they're not winning intangibles. Like it's not
No.
a winning play style. It's the same thing with Russell Westbrook.
Yes.
His style is not one to win.
No, I
And
agree.
I did like Westbrook saying he would
Come off the bench. Yes.
because he is a shock trooper. You
Yes.
want him leading the bench and
Wow.
saying, "Guys, we're gonna come in and we're gonna
100 miles
get
an
a lead."
hour.
Yeah,
I like
but,
that.
dude. Harden and him, you can't. Their play styles just aren't suited to winning. Jokic, he does all the small things,
Yep.
and he does everything really well, and so you can win with that play style.
Yep.
You just can't with Harden, and you catered him so much.
No, I totally agree. So I went and I looked at the stats for the LA Clippers before James Harden and with James Harden. Well, before James Harden got to LA, the Clippers were 3-4. They were outscoring their opponents on average 120 to 104. They were outscoring their opponents by about 16.5 points. Since they've gotten James Harden, they're 1-5. They're averaging what looks like 11.5 less points and giving up 11.4 more points per game, or 10.4 more points per game. It is clear that Harden is the problem in Los Angeles. But just like Jay Blaze said, and I love that analogy, James Harden is the post-wall woman who thinks that men are going to put up with her bullshit. If Harden were 10 years younger, I think the Sixers would probably have dealt with his nonsense because, well, he would have been worth it. But Harden is no longer the player he used to be, but he still thinks he is the system. Like, you used to be the system, but you are no longer the system. Rashard Clark with a $2 super chat says, James Harden is a bigger crybaby than LeBron. Do you agree or disagree, Jay Blaze?
They're on power with each other. And I will say Harden is that guy who, dude, it makes no sense because, dude, he should have stayed with D'Antoni, put up all the numbers, and he still would have got a Hall of Fame
Easy
nod because he made all that those numbers. But, dude, this is why the Clippers aren't a well-run organization.
That's right.
All they saw was James Harden, the name.
That's it.
They just wanted the name.
That's it.
And, dude, they already had a ball-dominant player in Russell.
Yep.
And you can't pair him with Harden, another ball-dominant player. And this is why Russell said,
I'll come
"Let
off
me
the
go
bench."
to the bench.
Yeah, because there's
I'm
not
gonna
enough
be
balls.
a ball. Yeah, there's just only one ball."
King of Life with the comment of the day says, James Harden is a woman that hit the wall and will say, I was engaged but never got the ring. Oh, wow. Holy smokes. Yeah, I think, look, man, I think James Harden has now forced his way off of 3 teams, forced his way out of Houston, forced his way out of Brooklyn, forced his way out of Philly. He's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest players ever, but at some point, you have to understand that your market value is what determines what people are going to put up with. It is what it is. Apollo on the Rumble site says Daniela will be James Harden in no time. Daniela is already James Harden.
Yeah,
you guys
he's
are killing me
fat,
with these
he's fat.
analogies. Miami J actually sent me a very, very interesting video on Instagram that talked about how to fix the NBA regular season. Let's talk about this. Here we go.
NBA wants to be a soccer league so badly, but Adam Silver's latest move is flopping harder than LeBron or Neymar ever could. Let me explain. The NBA has a regular season problem, and they are right to try and address it, but the first iteration of the in-season tournament is all wrong.
I think
Its
they
ultimate
should do
aim
it
was to
for
create
the
more intrigue around what has become a somewhat meaningless regular season. The stakes night in and night out just aren't high enough in today's NBA. But nothing about these in-season tournament games actually makes those stakes any higher for the players.
Right.
And while the tournament was modeled after European soccer cups, it completely ignores what makes those cups so successful, namely the decades and even centuries of history behind those cups and the novelty of playoffs in leagues that are otherwise
That makes
decided by
sense.
regular season performance. But there is one more aspect of some of those cup competitions that the NBA would be smart to try and replicate in the coming years.
Damn, Giannis,
The
give him
addition of lower league teams. The obvious first addition would be to add the 30 G League teams to the field, similar to the style of the FA Cup in England, where
Miami J, you talked about this before.
teams of all levels of leagues compete
Yeah,
for
the
one
beautiful
trophy.
thing about
But
those
why
tournaments is that anybody can win them. A team like Wrexham can come in and
Yes,
shock the
yes.
world.
Or Leicester City.
Yeah, that's
stop there?
that's the beauty of those tournaments. It's not watching the same exact teams compete for a different trophy.
That makes sense. I like that.
The NBA really wanted to declare a world champion.
World champion of what? The United States?
Invite the 18 teams from the EuroLeague that represent the best of Europe.
Ah.
I have a feeling that those teams wouldn't be doing any kind of load management if they had that opportunity. And while this would require shortening the 82-game season by a few games, if you can replace all of the TV and ticket revenue with these games, who would oppose? And it certainly sounds like more of a reason to watch than just a couple new court designs. The NBA wants to be a soccer.
That is a fascinating prospect. Miami J, what are your thoughts on that? That sounds fascinating to me.
That's something I would watch the NBA for. Absolutely.
Okay.
I don't watch the NBA regular season because, like the guy said, it's inconsequential.
Yes.
And the in-season tournament does nothing. I think it's just another. Yeah, it's just, like he said, it's just for the TV rights and the.
I understand where he's coming from. It's just not working.
Yeah, no, it's not working at all. And they did. Look, I can guarantee you, every soccer fan on the planet, as soon as we saw the NBA announce this, we said to ourselves, they're trying to model after European soccer.
Oh, wow. You said that, didn't you?
Everybody knows that. Yes, absolutely. The Cubs, every country has this. And we even have it in the United States with the U.S. Open Cup. And
Yes.
It's not just MLS teams. Every team, every professional team, soccer team in the USL, NASL, whatever the other leagues are, everybody can play. And every once in a while, a USL team like Sacramento came in last year and took it all the way to the final and made a beautiful run, and they were the talk of the town. That's what makes those tournaments special. It's not
Okay.
watching the same 32 teams, play for another trophy that's honestly meaningless.
Wow. Blaze, what are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so I wasn't able to watch the video, but so they would just make another league with the Euro players, right?
Yeah.
So why don't you make it like if you have a fantasy league and you have a bad you have the opposite opinion of the winner and the absolute loser, and you take the bottom like 4 teams and you say, no, you're out, and we're going to replace you with the
Wow.
Euro teams.
Promotion
Wow.
elevation. There you
Yeah,
go.
that's exactly
Yeah.
how they do it over there. Wow. That would be
I think
interesting.
if you do that with the you could do that with the NFL and the MLB. And you remember the process that Philly did?
Yeah.
They wouldn't be doing that
Oh,
here.
no.
And it would force these teams to actually be competitive and
Yes.
say, we got to do it because you're getting out of the pool. You're getting out of the money from the NBA.
Let me just make it clear: the easiest sport in America to do this with is baseball.
Oh,
You already
yeah.
have the AA, AAA,
Oh, God,
single A
yes.
infrastructure built in. It would be so easy.
And dude, we got and it's a 162 game season. I'm sure they can trim something off of that, man. I think that would be
Or you have the last team have to play an all-star WNBA team.
Oh my
on
God.
national
Oh
TV.
Jesus fucking Christ. That would be absolutely awesome.
I would pay to watch that.
All right, let's quickly move to our next story. We're running a little bit. We're running up against the clock. So the All-Star game, which had been taken away from the Atlanta Braves, looks like they're going to host the All-Star game in 2025. Let me quickly read this article. It says Major League Baseball will play. There we are. Major League Baseball will play its 2025 All-Star game in Atlanta 4 years after moving the event from Truist Park to Denver's Coors Field over objections to changes in Georgia's voting rights laws. Atlanta was awarded the 2021 All-Star Game in May of 2019, but MLB removed it in April 2021, just 3 months before the game was played. I made the decision in 2021 to move the event, and I understand, believe me, that people had then and probably still have different views as to its merits of that decision. Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred said Thursday during an announcement that followed an owners' meeting. Next year's All-Star Game will be at Arlington's Globe Life Field, and the 2026 game will be in Philadelphia's Citizens Bank Park to mark the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Wow. So the All-Star Game is going to be in Philadelphia on July 4th in 2026. So Jay Blaze, you're the one that sent me this story. What can you tell me about why this story interested you?
So you had, after the Biden got elected, you had Georgia change their voting habits where you have to present an ID, which I like.
Sure.
So the MLB commissioner took in the propaganda for that mainstream media and Stacey Abrams and I'm not talking Jalen Carter pushed, and so you had people go around and they were trying to say it was racist. They were trying to instill that black people didn't have IDs and that it was racist of them to to do this voting thing. And then you had people go around and say, "Hey, do you have an ID?" And every single guy's just going, "Yeah, I have one right here." So MLB took the All-Star game away from Atlanta because of this.
Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable.
And so they cost those consumers and those small businesses money from the All-Star game.
Yes.
That could decide, do they make their profits or not? And so later that year, which was awesome because then the World Series went to Atlanta and they won.
Yes,
So
that's
that
right.
Was, that
that's
was
right.
Kind of like, hey, screw you, MLB.
Very
so
good.
It's good that they're bringing it back to Atlanta, but it's still, it was kind of bullshit.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm glad they got that all squared away. You guys know how it is, man. They you know, the mainstream media loves to victim. They love to make you know, people act and sound like victims. Okay, so we're gonna round third and head for home. We'll have the soccer minute here shortly, but at this point we are going to make our picks straight up and against the spread. Game one, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers going to visit the Deshaun Watson-less Cleveland Browns. The over-under is 32 and a half. Pardon me. The over-under is 32 and a half. Cleveland is a 1-point favorite. Miami J, who you got in this one against the spread and straight up?
I got the Browns both ways. I like that. I like that defense at home.
Okay, Jay Blaze, what you got?
Even without Deshaun and without knowing what's going to happen on offense, I really like that defense.
Okay, what you got, Jay Blaze? Who do you have in this?
Is Trubisky still playing?
I think so.
Oh, dude. I'm gonna say the Steelers just because I just don't trust the Browns backups, but I don't feel great about it. Steelers and maybe the over. There's just not many points.
Yeah, I agree. I'm actually going to take the Steelers and the over. I think both teams, I think they both score over an average of 16 points apiece. Listen, man, the Steelers are 6-3. They've been outgained this season, and they're still 6-3. I think they go into Cleveland. I think Cleveland is still reeling. That defense is real. There's no question about that. But I think the Steelers on the road, I think they get it done. I trust Mike Tomlin a lot more than I trust Kevin Stefanski. Our next game, the Chicago Bears going to visit the Detroit Lions. The Lions, 7.5-point favorites. The over/under 47.5. Miami J, who you got?
I got the Lions against the spread. I'll take the over.
Okay, Jay Blaze.
I'm loving the Lions this season. They've won my heart. I
yes,
think they're fantastic.
Absolutely, and probably winning a lot of people a lot of money too.
Yeah.
I have the same picks.
Okay, yeah, a 3 for 3. I think the Lions win. I think they cover, and I think it's going to be over 47.5. I think the Lions themselves might score 47 points. Interesting game. The Green Bay Packers are 3-point underdogs at home against the Los Angeles Chargers. Who do you have in this game, Miami J?
I don't understand how the Chargers are favorites in this game. I got the Packers.
Okay. Jay Blaze.
I have the Packers.
Okay, I've got the Chargers, and the reason why I've got the Chargers is because of Jordan Love. Jordan Love is not the guy in Green Bay. And, look, the Los Angeles I'll put it to you like this. I think the Chargers win this game because they have to. Because if the Chargers lose to the Packers, that's it. That is absolutely it for Brandon Staley. I'm surprised they didn't fire him after he went for it on 4th down in Minnesota and didn't get it, but that remains to be seen. The Raiders going to visit the Dolphins. The Dolphins giving up almost 2 touchdowns. The over-under is 46.5. Miami J, who you got?
I got the Dolphins in this one. I do think the spread's a little bit high.
Yeah.
But I can see the Dolphins winning this 35-17 and covering.
Okay, very good. Jay Blaze.
I like the Raiders to cover with being underdogs, but the Dolphins are going to win. And I have the under.
Okay, I think I agree with Jay Blaze. I'm very, very wary of heavy home favorites. The Raiders they're playing with sort of a new invigoration. They've got Antonio Pierce. Yes, the first 2 teams they played were garbage. This is their first real test. I think the Raiders keep it relatively close. I think the players play for Antonio Pierce. I'm going to take the under. I don't think the Dolphins cover, but I think they win. Let's go to arguably the worst game on the calendar. The New York Giants going to visit the Washington Commanders, who are 9.5-point favorites. Miami J, who you got?
I got Washington winning it, but I got New York covering, and I don't say that because I think New York can keep up. I just think that the Washington's equally as bad.
Okay. Jay Blaze.
I got the Italian Stallion.
Tommy
covering.
DeVito.
Tommy DeVito, baby.
And I'm going to go maybe dude, this is a garbage bowl, but
Yeah.
I'll go the over barely.
Okay. Yeah. I think I'm gonna also take the over. I think the Commanders win, but I don't think they cover. It's a division game. And look, man, say what you want about the Washington Commanders. They pushed the Eagles twice this season. Sam Howell lit up our defense. And so while I don't like the Commanders, I certainly do respect them a little bit more than I do. But there's something different happens during division games. I don't know what it is. I remember Tom Brady once said there are 3 speeds in the NFL. There's regular season speed, there's division speed, and then there's playoff speed. This is going to be at division speed. I think the Giants keep it close, but the Commanders end up winning in the end. The Dallas Cowboys going on the road to the juggernaut Carolina Panthers. They are 10.5-point favorites. Miami J, who you got?
Well, I have no confidence in the Cowboys whatsoever, but I do think they go into Carolina and cover.
Okay. Jay Blaze, who you got?
Stat Prescott loves the boat race garbage teams.
Yes.
So I have the Cowboys covering, and I have the over.
Yeah, I'm 3 for 3, man. I got the Cowboys winning. Now, here's one thing that I will say. The Cowboys don't play as well on real grass. They tend to play better on field turf or artificial grass. They're just a faster team on artificial grass. This might explain why they don't play as well on real grass. The Carolina Panthers have real grass. That being said, the Cowboys are still going to run away with this. They're going to boat race They're going to boat race the Panthers. This game will be over in the second quarter, and we'll be talking about Dak Prescott for MVP again.
Or this will be another Cardinals game.
The Titans and the Jaguars. The Jaguars are home favorites. Looks like they're giving up 7 points. 39.5 is the over-under. Miami J, who you got?
I like the Jaguars on this one. I think they cover, and I'll take the over.
Jay Blaze, who you got?
Jaguars bounce back, and I'll take the over.
Okay. And oh, by the way, Ryan Tannehill has come back, and he is now the backup quarterback in Tennessee. Mike Vrabel named Will Levis the starting quarterback. Ryan Tannehill is going to back him up. I think the Jaguars win, but I don't think they cover. I think the Jaguars win. I think they win this one 20-17. So I'm going to take the under. The Jaguars win. I'm taking the under. And they do not cover. They win straight up, but Tennessee keeps it close again. This is the division game.
Look out for Ryan Tannehill maybe ask for a release and get signed by one of the teams that need a quarterback.
Totally agree. Yeah, keep an eye on a guy like Ryan Tannehill because they've also got Malik Willis there. This will be Tannehill's third stop. We got the Arizona Cardinals going on the road to, the upstart Houston Texans. Looks like they're 4.5-point favorites at home. The over-under is 48.5. Miami J, who you got?
I think this over/under is really, really high.
Yeah, really high.
I would take the under, but I would take Houston to cover.
Okay, what do you got, Jay Blaze?
Same.
Okay, yeah, I think.
I don't trust Kyler.
Yeah, I don't trust Kyler either, but I'm going to take – I think the Texans cover, and I'm going to take the over. Houston's offense is really good, but their defense is not really that good. And Kyler Murray, again, playing with a sort of a renewed sense of vigor. Apollo is going to take – he's taking Arizona in the upset. He's taking Arizona in the upset, so keep an eye on that one. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers visiting, going to the West Coast against the San Francisco 49ers, who are giving up 11.5 points. Over-under is at 41.5. Miami J, who you got in this one, and are you taking the over-under?
I don't know if I'm taking the over or under. I think that's really close.
Yeah.
I'll go with the over. I'll put some faith in Christian McCaffrey, but I think the Niners win this game handedly.
Okay, Jay Blaze, what you got?
I think the Buccaneers keep it close. I think they cover barely, and I'll take the over. I think Baker will keep it close.
I think Baker keeps it close until the end. The 49ers are similar to the Eagles in that they just grind you down. Their offensive line leans on you. Their defensive line just leans on you. And when you get to the late third quarter, mid fourth quarter, you see guys kind of grabbing their jerseys, kind of grabbing their knees a little bit. I think San Francisco wins. I think they cover late, and I'm definitely going to take the over. The Jets and the Bills. This is a gotta-have-it game for both of these teams.
Yep.
If the Bills lose, they're 5-6. They're a game under 500. If the Jets lose, they are 2 games under 500. The Bills are getting the Jets are getting 7 points on the road. Miami J, who you got?
I got the Bills, but I think this is a much closer game than
100%.
Yeah. Represents. I would take the under, and I would say the Jets cover, but the Bills win.
Okay. What do you got, Jay Blaze?
I have the Jets covering, and I have slight over.
Okay. So they barely cover the over. So maybe like a 21-20 game. I'm going 21-20 Buffalo. I think they win. They don't cover, but I think they barely get over the over. This is an interesting game. The Seattle Seahawks going on the road to the LA Rams. They are 1-point favorites on the road. That's a pretty high over-under, but both of these offenses can put it in the end zone. Miami J, what you got?
I got the under. I got the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks win this game.
Okay.
I think like a 21-7 game.
Okay, very good. 21-7. I like that. So they cover, clearly. Jay Blaze, what you got?
I trust the Seahawks more than I do the Rams, and I'll take the under.
Okay. I'm gonna take the Seahawks to cover. I'm also going to take the under. I gotta see a little bit more out of Matthew Stafford. And I agree with you guys. Just going back to what we were talking about earlier. Jared Goff did very well in LA, but Sean McVay wanted a better quarterback with a better arm. I think he could potentially do with a Zach Wilson what he did similar to Matthew Stafford, because I believe that Sean McVay's offense probably a little bit simpler, though one really never knows. The Broncos and the Vikings. This is an extremely intriguing game. The Broncos, 2.5 home favorites. You've got Josh Dobbs versus the resurgent Russell Wilson. The over-under is at 42.5. Miami J, who you got?
I don't see how the Broncos are favored in this game. I got the under, but I do have the Vikings winning it.
Okay, you've got the Vikings winning. Okay, Jay Blaze, what you got?
The Vikings have a lot of momentum. I'm going to take them to win, and I'll take the over.
I think the Denver Broncos win. I think they cover, and I'm going to take the over. I think they get back to 500. I think it's going to be a good game, but I think the Broncos win on a late field goal. Phantom 313 says Matthew Stafford is not playing. So if Stafford is not playing, that means, drum roll please, the return of Carson Wentz. And finally, the game of the year. This is the game of the year, Super Bowl 57 rematch. This will be the third game of the year that the Eagles play. We played in one game of the year against the Dolphins. We beat them. Played in the game of the year against the Cowboys. Beat them. The game of the year against the Kansas City Chiefs. They are 2.5-point favorites at home. The over is at a 45.5. Miami J, who you got?
I got the Chiefs.
Okay.
I don't think the Eagles have gone into an environment like Arrowhead yet. And,
Okay.
I think we'll see what they're made of. If they we'll find out for real which of these teams is going to be,
Totally agree. Totally agree.
shit. But I got the over, definitely. I got the over, and I got the Chiefs.
Okay, very good. Do they cover?
Yes, but barely.
Okay,
I
so
see this as a
field goal.
3-point game.
Got it.
4-point game.
Gotcha. Jay Blaze, what you got?
I still think the game of the year, according to the ratings, 27 million people watched the Eagles
Cowboys and Eagles, baby. You know it.
I have KC winning and barely covering. The Eagles have been kind of like just like they've edged some teams out here and there, but I don't know if they're ready for Mahomes. And I'll take the under. I think this will be a low scoring game.
Okay. Oh wow, that's interesting. This is a tough call for me. I think if the Eagles win, I think they win by 7. If the Chiefs win, I think they win by 3. Sort of a conditional type of pick. The Eagles, I think, top to bottom, are the better team. We've got the better offensive line. We've got the better defensive line. But I think the Chiefs have a better defense than the Eagles, at least on the back end. This is if I had to put my money on it, if I had to bet an amount of money that mattered to me, who would I take? I would take the Eagles. I would take the Eagles. Somehow, some way, Jalen Hurts always seems to find a way. He threw 3 interceptions against the New York Jets, and we still lost that game by 1 point. Go ahead.
Is KC coming off a bye?
KC is coming off a bye, but so are the Eagles. And Andy Reid is 21-3 off a bye. But guess what? Nick Sirianni in his entire coaching career is 11-2 off a bye. So yeah, Andy Reid off a bye is good, but so is Nick Sirianni. But Andy Reid has more. He's got more of a track record for that.
Look, this is one of those games that's going to be won by the intangibles. It's going to be very hard to predict that offense versus defense and so on. This is going to be a game that's going to be won by something that we can't foresee.
I'll say this. This game is probably going to be lost rather than won. Yes, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl last year, but the Eagles lost it with the James Bradbury penalty. Whoever wins, it's probably going to be a James Bradbury type penalty that puts whatever team in position to make that chip shot field goal. So I think the Eagles win. I'm definitely taking the over. I think it's going to be another 38-35 type of game. I think the Eagles win. I think they cover.
I'm going to make a bold prediction here.
Say again?
I'm going to make a bold prediction here. This is the intangible.
Okay.
The Chiefs are going to win this game by finally stopping the Eagles on 4th and 1 at the goal line.
Wow. So Steve Spagnuolo finally solves the brotherly shove for the win. That would be the play of the year. That would absolutely be the play of the year. And then Steve Spagnuolo would be the number 1 NFL head coaching prospect, at least in the NFC East. Let's go to a couple of soccer stories here. So Miami J sent me a couple of videos. What do you want to tell us about this first video? Looks like earns a road point in El Salvador.
Yeah. So the videos are to illustrate a larger point that I want to make.
Okay.
Because so we had this game on Thursday, the USA versus Trinidad.
Yeah.
On paper, should have been a 7-0 shellacking.
Jesus Christ, that was a bad showing for US, man.
Well, so let me start with the positives. We won the game 3-0. Great. We're in good position. We're gonna go to Trinidad on Monday. We should win that game. We should qualify to Copa America.
Right.
The other positive is that Greg Berhalter, even missing Pulisic and Weah, Greg Berhalter played Gio Reyna in the middle, centrally.
Okay.
That was great news.
Finally.
The problem is this team was not up for this game. This game was 0-0 up until the 80th minute. And Trinidad was playing a man down for 2/3 of this game. So that brings me to the point that, and Berhalter said it himself in the press conference, I was worried about, if it ended 0-0, I was worried about going down to Trinidad.
Oh,
and maybe losing, God forbid.
Oh my God.
It's happened before. Now the problem here is it's not so much about this game. Okay, this game is endemic of a larger problem with U.S. soccer. and
Okay.
Greg Berhalter. Greg Berhalter's now been in charge for 5 years,
Okay.
and when he came on, he said the goal is to get us to a point where we can consistently compete with the Brazils and Argentinas of the world.
Right.
Great, I agree. I want us to get there too. But 5 years in, we're still talking about whether or not we can beat Trinidad away.
That shouldn't even
That's
be a discussion, man.
That should not be a discussion.
Yeah.
This shouldn't be up for
Yeah,
debate.
yeah.
You shouldn't be worried about that. That's the point I want to make. We consistently, under Berhalter, play down to our opponents.
Yes.
But the problem is we don't play up to our better opponents. That's the problem. This team is stuck in the middle with Berhalter.
Ay, ay, ay.
And, you know, a head coach is supposed to be, above all else, a man manager and a motivator.
That's right.
That goes in every single sport. You have your assistants to take care of the tactics. Your players should know what they're doing,
Mhm.
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Berhalter is a very cringy. Who's the guy that we were just talking about at the start? That's a weird guy.
Oh, Nathaniel Hackett. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a Nathaniel Hackett sort of figure, and you'll see it here.
Wow. Oh,
When
okay.
This guy tries to motivate this team. It is so cringy. The first video here it was one of the biggest games we had against El Salvador in the last round of World Cup qualifying.
Okay.
This team should be, and it was on the road. This team should be up for this game. They should be fired up. And mind you, the two speeches we're gonna watch are the two most fiery speeches I could find about Greg Berhalter.
Okay, here we go. Here's the first one.
Okay, guys, here we go. Let's get together. Let's bring it together.
This is the guy who's supposed
There's
to
going to be
fire
ups,
up
there's
this
going to
team.
be downs. There's going to be good plays and bad plays in this game. That's what's going to happen. Two things are going to keep us in. Intensity and togetherness. Adam Many, boys, look around. Feel the shoulders of the guy next to you. Adam Many, we are one.
We've been waiting so long for this. We come off a good summer now. We go into this with good form. We've created a great foundation to this team. It's brotherhood. We battle for each other. We fight for each other. Let's go out there and battle. Let's go. Let's go, boys!
USA! 1, 2, 3, USA!
Do the burn, Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
Is that not the cringiest coaching speech you've
it's
ever
just that was just kind of let me ask you this, Joel. Is this because we live in America? Because you guys know what happens before NFL football games. Dude, you remember the Ray Lewis, Jalen Hurts, he's out there, Patrick Mahomes, fiery. Dude, some coaches are fiery. Is the reason we think this is cringy is because we're used to fiery coaches? Or is Greg Berhalter just not a very good motivator?
No, it's Greg Berhalter.
Okay.
If you watch the speech that his name escapes me right now, but at halftime during the World Cup when Saudi Arabia was playing Argentina,
Yeah.
if you watch the speech that Saudi Arabia coach gave that team, God, they were willing to run through a wall for that guy.
Wow, there we go.
Greg Berhalter. I mean, did you get any fiery anything out of
No.
Nothing.
It was just
Nothing. I always
boilerplate,
remember-
togetherness and blah, 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 blah. It's like, tell me something I haven't already heard before, right?
What's that?
I always remember Drew Brees' like big, huddle before the game.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, who dat? Who
Yeah,
dat?"
yeah.
And he would fire up that team.
Yeah.
They needed Drew Brees.
Now this next one, it's the Nations League final.
Okay.
Against your biggest rival. You're playing for a trophy. You're playing at home. This game, you should be going out there ready to punch somebody in the face. Listen to this.
All right. It's Tyler Adams.
Here we go. Something I couldn't get out of my mind, guys, for the last 3 days.
Leia.
Right, was when that zoo guy was talking about the African dogs, man,
This is
and how they hunt. Remember how they hunt? They hunt as a pack, and they don't stop, man. They keep running until their prey falls down in exhaustion, and then they go for the kill. Tonight we are dogs. We sick the dogs. Are you ready? Let's go. On 3 USA, boys.
Oh my God.
This is the biggest.
That was
problem with
fucking
Berhalter.
terrible.
And here's the thing.
Oh my God, that was terrible.
His first 4 years were so bad
Oh yeah,
that
yeah.
you felt like me coming on shows like this now saying, "Oh, thank God he finally gets it. He played Gio Reyna centrally."
Yeah, right.
This is the bigger problem. It's not that he played Gio Reyna here or Gio Reyna there. That was bad for sure.
Right.
And those were the reasons we lost the world. We didn't do anything in the World Cup.
Right.
But this is the bigger problem. With this, you cannot get to beat the Brazils and the Argentinas. You're never going to get there.
No way, man.
You know that show Ted Lasso?
Yes.
You had the equipment guy who became the assistant coach.
Yeah.
That's who Walter needs to be, and need a head coach, a leader of men like Dan Campbell.
Yeah, man.
To fire up those guys. He should be a coordinator.
Now, by all accounts, he's a great man management.
Of course.
Manager. All the players love him, and blah 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 blah. He really does have this atmosphere of a team in this group, but you need to motivate your players. I don't see it there. I could be wrong, but to me, it is obvious, and especially after a game like we just had against Trinidad, and the fact that he came out in that press conference and said, hey, he was worried about going down to Trinidad.
Right.
To me, the moment to make the change is right now before Copa America.
Oof.
Let him go down and beat Trinidad and finally qualify for Copa America. But the problem is U.S. soccer is never going to do that because U.S. soccer is caught up in the cycle of corruption and nepotism.
Wow.
Where they hired Greg Berhalter, who's the CFO's brother, to be the head coach, and then brought him back after domestic abuse allegations. They overlooked him, and they brought him back after a phantom search for another coach, which never existed. No mistakes about it. They talked a big game about this.
But they never really looked for another coach.
They never really looked for anybody else.
No.
And the problem here is U.S. soccer. It's not Berhalter. Berhalter's the Daniel Jones taking his money when he gets it.
Okay.
Take the money. He's going to take the job. You're offering him the most prestigious job in U.S. soccer.
Of course. He's going to take it, right.
But it's a problem with U.S. soccer. Greg Berhalter is not equipped to do this. And say all you want about Sunil Gulati and how corrupt he was in running U.S. soccer.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to see this program succeed, and that's why he brought in Jurgen Klinsmann. When this program got turned over to Sidney Cohen, bro, the corruption has to be staggering inside the halls of U.S. soccer for this man to still be there.
Unbelievable. And it's interesting. You say that the players love him and that he's a player's coach. It's good if your players like you if you're a master motivator. But you've got to be a master motivator first. You can't be afraid of your players not liking you.
I will also say this. How much of that is fear? Because the one player who spoke out against Greg Berhalter
was Gio Reyna.
No, it was not Gio Reyna. It was John Brooks. We have not seen John Brooks in over 3 years play for this team.
Oh, there you go. There's the politics. Speaking of Brooks, the 1980 U.S. men's hockey team, the Miracle on Ice, their coach.
That never happens with this guy giving the halftime speech.
There you go. And that is exactly my point. If you ever watch the movie Miracle, it's kind of like a biopic. These fucking players hated Herb Brooks because he put them through absolute hell. But in the end, they came to love him because he coached them hard, like Jay Blaze talks about. He didn't have to pull any punches. It's good if your players love you, but they can only love you truly if they respect you. Ergo, most professional athletes these days are like women. That's just kind of how it goes. I'll give you the last word, Miami J.
Greg Berhalter, when it comes to the locker room, Greg Berhalter's never going to be the guy to put his foot down.
Wow.
You remember in that movie Miracle when he goes in at the end of the second period and he benches the goalie?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yes.
Greg Berhalter will never do that.
No.
He will wait till after the game, have a team meeting, let his leadership council make the decision, and the team the decision whether or not to play a guy. That's how it happened with Gio Reyna. It wasn't Berhalter saying, you're sitting down. It was Berhalter bringing it to the leaders of the team.
Unbelievable.
They all made the decision, and they made Gio Reyna get up and give this apology. Bro, no, I'm sorry.
You have to be, look, man, you've got to be confrontational if you're going to be a leader of men. And his non-confrontational nature is probably the ceiling on the U.S. men's national team at this point.
It absolutely is. This team can only go as far as, I said it earlier in the podcast, a head coach. He's a motivator. He's a man manager. And his ultimate job is to make a team greater than the sum of its parts.
He's not doing that.
This team, not once, since Berhalter's been in charge, has been better than the sum of its parts.
Wow.
The best game they had was the 0-0 in the World Cup against England.
Against England, yeah, the draw.
And I would argue that that was England playing down to our level, not
Yeah.
us playing up to theirs.
Wow, very good. Well, the
Sorry,
games
Ralph.
have no, that's okay. That's okay. And with that, the games have already started. We hope that you guys have enjoyed. The reason we didn't open up the phone lines is because Blog Talk Radio is tripping. It's always something. But thank you guys very, very much. Enjoy the games. And I am about to go watch the F1 race from yesterday, so nobody give me any spoilers. You guys take care, and we'll see you soon.
Later. Thank you.
Later.